Oftentimes artists, they're very sensitive, emotional creatures. They have to be handled with care.
Yeah.
So a lot of it is like, for me to, as a producer or engineer, like for me to get a good performance out of them, it's almost like I'm a therapist. So I have to kind of like welcome them in, sit them down, give them hydrated, and get them comfortable, because I need them to put their guards down. I need them to get focused, and I need them to be able to perform to the best of their ability for whatever song we're working on.
All right, here we go. This is Modus Flow Studio with Anthony Navarro, and this is the Clarity Podcast, where we're focusing on our sense of focus, our sense of purpose, and reconnecting with each other and life. And this is Anthony's studio. Anthony Navarro is a Pensacola local music producer. Anthony, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, man? What do you do here in Pensacola?
So for the past 18 years, I've been professionally working in the music industry or some kind of media, like entertainment industry, as a audio engineer and a producer. So essentially, like, I help people make music.
Awesome, yeah. And I think you've been pretty much all over the U.S. too. I know you lived in California for a while producing out there, and Chicago too.
Yeah, California, I lived out there briefly, and then I fly out there frequently for projects and stuff.
Right on.
Lived in Chicago, worked there, and then also lived in Atlanta, working out of there.
Beautiful, okay. And this is your studio. You got the Modus Flow Hit Lab in the background there. Can you tell us a little bit about Modus Flow and your philosophy behind the business?
So, like, Modus Flow is actually the name comes from modus operandi, which is Latin for the way you do something. And then flow is the flow state, the creativity. Yeah, so the way you create, or it's like the method of creating, and AKA, but the reason I chose that name was because I'm a huge MF Doom fan, and I wanted to incorporate MF as like a, short term to be able to use that.
That's a great homage to MF Doom, man.
Yeah,
he was a
Metal
really
Face Doom.
Great rapper. Yeah.
Comic book rapper.
But that brings us back to music production. That flow state is what you get into maybe when you're producing music, right? There's something about music that inspires that flow state for you. Can you elaborate on that maybe a little bit?
The flow state, there's a few different ways that I get into that in the studio, in the session. It's kind of like I try to get my mindset right. I might even do like meditation, a short meditation or breath work. And then I really need to be in like a relaxed state with nothing else to do, because being creative and making music and art, it's really hard. You got to be 100% dialed in and focused. So getting into the flow state is very important. In a studio setting, I like it to be kind of like organized. So like a clean studio with good lighting, essentially like some type of mood lighting, maybe even some incense or candle. And then I'll actually just listen to music, like open up Spotify or YouTube and just listen to music. I tune my ears. So when I'm listening to music, I have to tune my ears to how music sounds in here. And then when I start creating, I'm kind of like primed for production.
I see. So you're setting up your whole environment for this perfect flow state.
Yeah. There's a term I use, mise en place. It's French, but it comes from the chef world, fine dining restaurants. So like what that means is all of your ingredients prepared, chopped, your tools, your knives are sharpened, everything's at your hands, organized, ready to go, so you can just cook.
Got you.
I stole that from the chef world. I use it in the music world. So I prep all my tools, get all my sound palettes ready, and then I just start cooking.
It kind of reminds me from the counseling space, like set and setting. You're making sure the ambience is correct. The lighting produces a certain mood within you and the person in the studio that's with you. And same thing with scents. These are all producing some sort of feeling within us that allow us to relax. And actually from that state of relaxation, that's when we get into that flow state, and that's when we produce the best work. And do you notice that with your clients as well sometimes, that they can only produce that optimal work when they're more relaxed? I think you said sometimes you sit there for an hour and just shoot the shit sometimes before you even start work.
Yeah.
Relaxation for them to actually open up and produce their best work. I very much understand.
Yeah, how do you get that? Or how do you get them into that?
It's the same process that you're doing. That's what's fascinating to me. And because you have the scent thing going. I can't burn sage in the counseling office, but you have like you have the diffuser, right?
Yeah,
The essential oil diffuser, and the walls are these warm toned colors, and everything's makes you feel very homey and welcomed. And even in our counseling office room, it's this classical music or something like that that's playing that allows them to relax. And even the way that I'm speaking, I mean, it's ingrained in my personality at this point in my life, but I speak in a way that allows them my words are more spaced out and my voice is deep and they feel comfortable and grounded because of this way that I'm speaking. So all of that culminated together allows them to feel calm and open.
Yeah. Space is key, man. Space, one of my things, my sayings is space is the place. Yeah, when you can get into that space, whether it's like physical space that's cozy or whatever you need, or headspace.
Yeah.
That's the place where you need to get that dialed in before you can get into that flow state you need.
Space is the place.
Space is the place.
That can even be a mental space as well.
Yep.
And that the flow state is essentially another space that's within, and then you can bring that outside.
Sometimes I use those different brainwave apps that will put your brain state into that certain whatever theta, beta, whatever mode.
Yeah.
That can help me get into the flow state too.
We were kind of talking about optimization earlier, and using binaural beats and getting into these different brainwave states, alpha, theta, gamma, whatever, to get into flow state. I think gamma is usually associated with flow. But are there any other ways that you in your personal life maybe get into this flow state to help you with music production?
So besides the normal stuff like preparing the space, organizing my Pro Tool or like my production equipment setup, I kind of just keep pressing buttons until things start feeling good. Yeah, it's a lot of experimentation. Yeah, I have templates. I have production templates that I use, but oftentimes I always start from scratch. Yeah.
Yeah, I've observed you making music before, right? And it seems like you throw a couple chords together, you throw a drum beat in there, and maybe you switch some stuff around. You're like, nah, that doesn't quite sound right. And there's this process that you go through that's fascinating for me to watch, because you know it. Certain drums go with certain chords, and that goes with certain synths, and the randomization of it seems to culminate in this one solid piece that eventually turns into some sort of chart-topping song.
Yeah.
And you've talked before about like this feeling of magic that you get when all of it culminates, right? When all of it comes together.
Yep.
And can you describe that a little bit more? How do you know when a song is going to be a chart topper, or how do you know that it's complete even?
So the way that I know it's so when I'm working on a song, for instance, if I'm in the mixing phase of the song production. The way I know that the mix is finished is all of the sounds and elements, and so the bass and the drums and the keys, guitars, the vocals, it all glues together and becomes one kind of unit. And when that thing, all those tracks, sometimes I could have like 150 tracks, and I got to work it and shape it to where they all glue together to create one uniform sound. Whenever I get to that, things will then pop out of the speakers so hard, and it sounds like it gives me a certain feeling too, like I get high, like it's like a drug. Yeah, because I can feel the music, the energy's going through me, and it's striking a chord in some way. Either I'm super hyped up if it's like a hype song, if I'm super sad because it's a sad song. But once I feel that emotional, yeah, this is it, that's when I know it's ready.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you can feel that from really good songs.
Yeah.
And it's when it all comes together, like you said, maybe 100 different tracks, 100 different lines on that track, and you know they're all perfectly matched up, and there's something about all of it that makes your entire body vibrate. You're like, yeah, this is
It's
good.
a vibration for sure. Good vibes.
Good vibes.
Yeah. It's like you get butterflies. I get butterflies. I get a sense of euphoria. And when this room, it fills up with the music, when it feels like it's almost like giving me a warm hug.
Wow.
I get that sense of like, all right, it's ready.
Wow. It's
So
kind of loving. It's kind of a loving feeling.
Yeah, it's rewarding. And it's such a good feeling. It's like, that's why I've continued to do this, because the reward at the end of the project is that feeling that I get. And it makes it worth it.
Again, it's fascinating to me, and I can't help but to relate it back to the counseling world, because I fall into a similar flow state when everything else falls away in the world, and me and that other person are completely on a wavelength beyond physical form, where there's this mental space that merges. And like you said, there's this feeling of love, like a warm hug that surrounds the entire space.
You feel like connected to the
Very much.
to the person.
Very much so. And then that's where true healing, I think, begins. And in some sense, I guess you could say that about music as well, that sense of vibration that you feel in the person and in yourself, that's healing to people.
Yeah.
Music is healing to people.
Oh, yeah. When you think about music that's played live, so a singer or someone playing guitar or a drummer, that's literally their energy, their soul performing that.
Correct.
And when it's the right performance and coming from a good place to where you know when the artist is feeling it,
Yes.
when they're feeling it, when they're really in tune with their it just seems more authentic and coming from a true place.
Yeah.
That translates into when the speakers reproduce it. So like when the speakers are playing that back, you're feeling that energy, right? And you'll feel it every time because it's that energy was captured with the computer stuff. It's essentially magic.
Yeah, it's very much magical because that person is sending their authentic, their harmonious vibration, if that's what you want to say. And we're speaking in terms of vibration because it's music. Everything in the universe is vibration essentially as well. But that person is sending their authentic, loving vibration to the rest of the audience or whoever is listening. And they're feeling that, and it feels, again, healing. They can feel it in different parts of the body. And maybe bass sounds are more down in the lower part of the body, and you hit these guitar notes, and it's up here in your head, and you feel.
That's one of the things I like doing is taking people on an emotional roller coaster throughout the song. So as the song progresses, I'm doing things that I like, tricks to put them into different headspaces and different feelings, using transitions from the pre-chorus going into the chorus section. There's different production tricks that I'll do to lift the song up or bring it down or create tension. Yeah, that's kind of the thing. How you can shape audio waves and music in a way to make someone feel a certain type of thing.
Can you be more specific? Is there a certain way that you like to produce music that produces a certain kind of effect? Is there a certain way that you like making people feel through your music?
I noticed just kind of listening back to a lot of my stuff I've produced. There's definitely like some type of watery element to it, like very fluid, liquid, wet sound. So through different types of reverbs and echoes and EQ curves, I'll do these different things to kind of add my little flair to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it sounds kind of flowy.
Flowy,
kind of watery, literally Modus Flow.
Yep. So like a big wave of water, or then the absence of it, take it away.
That's fascinating.
There's different moments where, the vocal might be dripping in reverb or some kind of effect. And then for like a brief moment, I'll strip it all down.
Huh.
Then you just hear a dry ass, like raw vocal. Huh. And that contrast is like, it creates like this, whoa, kind of like a standout moment.
Yeah.
And those are like, I'm always looking for different moments like that. Magical moments.
I see what you're saying. So maybe those more watery sounds produce literally a more emotional state versus the dry ones are more impactful and direct.
Mm-hmm.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. I'm always digging for those magical moments. And then in vocal performances, I can hear it kind of like know by just a feeling of how a vocal sounds. There's certain like a squeak or like a certain type of breath or like grit, in the performance.
Yeah.
If that helps if that helps sell that vocal performance on a song, I'm gonna put a magnifying glass on it and I'll do like volume automation and crank it up, or I'll duplicate it and run it through different effects just to kind of make sure that little magical vocal moment gets highlighted.
I gotcha. Maybe there's something unique about that artist that you want to highlight, and you're going to make that stand out in the song.
It's the emotion, like little things that the voice does. Maybe the voice might crack because the artist really felt that lyric, or it brought them back to a time where they were sad or happy. The voice changes and like it creates a different type of vibration. I'm looking for those things that I can then build upon.
It's interesting that you say that, because I was at the gym earlier and I noticed the song that was playing over the speakers while my headphones were charging. And there was like this squeak that came through this girl's voice, and you don't hear it in any other kind of music, but this girl specifically had like a squeak in her voice, and I'm like, that's fascinating. You usually don't hear that, but they made it stand out because it was unique.
Yeah, it's like soulful.
Yeah.
Sometimes
this was playful. It was very like a playful sound.
Yeah, that's cool.
For me, this
you got to be able to like understand those little moments and how to not delete it out or cut it out, because I've done that before.
Embrace the things that maybe even sound a little bit, we're saying unique. So embrace the uniqueness of that individual, or embrace the uniqueness of that song, I think is a really great message here.
Yeah, every song's different. Every vocal performance is different. Every take is different. Even though they're singing the same lyrics, they're going to perform it in a different way. The speakers are going to move in a different way, because their energy and emotion is different.
And that kind of goes into a conversation of mental health in general, and how these channels, music, art in general, maybe painting, drawing, whatever it is, these are channels for these emotions. And this is why music is so therapeutic. There's someone's holding this emotion, and they're taking an instrument and channeling everything that they have of that emotion into these notes and chords. And is that what you see as well? And I'd like you to speak on maybe music and mental health a little bit.
In terms of how I see music with chords and things like that, in different channels of their being, the artist, There are certain like notes and progressions that will portray a certain mood and emotion and feeling. So definitely, yeah, you could use music as a way to translate how you're feeling through songwriting, but then also through music production.
Yeah, kind of like the F chord seems to be kind of mellow or calm, something like that.
Yeah.
I don't have any more specific examples. I'm learning piano.
Yeah, man. How's that new piano you got?
I love it. It's one of the most fun things I have around my house.
It's nice to be able to just play it without having to do anything. You don't have to turn it on.
I really want to learn jazz chords. I want to dive into jazz chords a little bit more, and that popped up on my YouTube feed today, and I'm like, I'm actually going to learn some
seventh chords.
Seventh chords.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Learn seventh chords for jazz.
Seventh chords. That's it. You'll get the jazzy tone.
Was music production in the beginning an outlet for you, an emotional outlet for you? Is that why you got into it, perhaps?
I got into music as a musician because as a kid, like my mom forced me into piano lessons as a kid. I didn't want to do it. I hated it. I just wanted to ride bikes outside and, be a boy. But she drugged me to piano lessons with my older sister. And through that, I had to do like recitals in front of all these people.
Sure.
And it was annoying. But eventually, once I got the hang of playing piano and when I could like then be able to practice piano and make it sound good, that's when I started to appreciate it. The art of playing and that. And throughout, throughout school, high school, middle school, I played in band and played different instruments. Then I became a DJ. But I didn't want to I didn't want to work in music. I wanted to work in movies. Yeah. So like I went to Full Sail to study sound engineering and stuff to work in Hollywood because I wanted to go to work in movies, like in the studio mixing, epic soundtracks and blockbuster hits type thing. So that was the goal, but I ended up in music because when I graduated college, I moved to California to go work in Hollywood and living on couches for a few months trying to find a job. The only job I could land was working at Disneyland and then working at the Marriott, selling timeshare vacation packages. A friend invited me to go. He said the studio he was working at in Chicago was hiring. So I took that job just to build my resume up. But it was at that studio was when I discovered I wanted to work in music. So then I went down the whole totally different path.
Wow.
Yeah. My whole like trajectory changed just from that one job.
Huh. It's funny how life takes us in these directions. You thought you were going to go into movie production, music for movies, but you got introduced to music production.
Yeah. Music for music.
Music for music.
Yeah.
What was it about it that captivated you? You've told me a little bit about the story before, but you enjoyed maybe seeing it go from these little clips and blips to full scale stage song.
The thing that got me excited about it was when driving home from the studio one day, I had just left work. I heard a song that we had worked on a couple of days ago.
Whoa.
Playing on the radio. And I was like, oh shit, I just worked on this song. So then that was like, whoa, that's cool. And then people loved it. And then so that was exciting for me to hear it out in the world.
Yeah.
From just because I was there, like you said, starting from scratch, like blips and bloops and little pockets of little ideas. Yeah.
It's amazing, man.
It was a cool feeling.
And that was up in Chicago, you said? Was there anything about the Chicago art scene that influenced your style up there?
Well, so from that, it was generally like pop music and R&B music. So that kind of influenced my production and songwriting, was the whole pop music scene. Like big artists, working with huge artists, you know, seeing that whole process, the songwriting, the production, you know, all the way to the record labels and how they promote the song, take it on tour, and how they make money and all that stuff. It kind of shaped the way I see the business.
Gotcha.
Before that, I was like anti all that shit. I didn't listen to none of that. I hated pop music. I was like punk rock, boom bap, hip hop, underground stuff, indie artist. Yeah.
But you saw the amount of work that went into it.
Yeah, I appreciated that other world of music, the pop world and the music industry. I appreciated it because then I saw the level of, I was working with the people that were making it, and they were super cool people, extremely talented, the hardest working people I've ever worked with. Yeah.
That's beautiful, man. And it sounds like that experience of your life really still impacts you today through your music, maybe an R&B style or a pop style.
Yeah. Yep.
Very cool.
Like hooks, writing, you know, the melodies and the hooks and the way you produce vocals, that all came from that. Okay. I still use some of the templates, the recording templates from that studio. I stole it.
That's funny. And do you have any plans upcoming for Modus Flow or vision for Modus Flow and your music?
Vision-wise, I'm just looking to work with some super talented, hardworking artists that want to make great music and want to make money. The goals for Modus Flow is just kind of grow into just different genres and try to, you know, I want to help locally here in Pensacola, obviously, and grow the scene here. One of the goals is to help blow up a Pensacola artist and get them some kind of success, recognition. Yeah.
All right. Put Pensacola on the map a little bit.
Put them on the map.
Put it on the map.
Yeah. Because you don't have to be anywhere. And like you can do good things in the music world from anywhere. All you need is the internet.
Especially with the internet nowadays, you can be anywhere and produce and to get music out.
Yeah. An artist, they got to treat it like a job, like a full-time job.
And that was
matter of fact, treat it not a job, treat it like a business because it's their business.
That was my next question. Is that your advice maybe to people getting into music or that want to produce?
If you want to produce music professionally, like for a living, the best thing to do is go work for a professional producer and learn. So the apprenticeship, the internship, go to a big city, go link up with like, you know, hit makers and shit and learn from that. Not YouTube. Don't go to YouTube University. Yeah. Get it the old school way.
Learn from the mentors, learn from the greats. Amazing, man. And going back to the theme of mental health as well, do you have any tips maybe for people struggling with mental health that maybe are thinking about using music as an outlet?
What I would suggest, if you're struggling with mental health, go see Max. Yeah, you need some like professional guided help from an expert in mental health. And someone that can kind of guide you, give you the tools, resources you need to heal whatever it is you're going through. Don't try to do it on your own. Especially if you're working in the music industry. Like if you're an artist or a songwriter or a producer or engineer, go get some help because the industry is sick. The sickest industry in every industry in the entire world is the entertainment industry. Like the stats are like, I think last time I looked it up, it was like 90% of workers in the entertainment industries have suffered from mental health, sickness, illness.
Wow.
Yeah, the suicide rates are insane. It's like triple suicide rates for people that work in the entertainment versus like other industries.
I'm
So,
sure there's a lot of pressure in that industry.
yeah, there's a lot of just pitfalls of bad mindsets and bad expectations and things like that. So if you're feeling sick or sad or depressed, like, go get help. It's easy to go get help.
And it's okay to do so. Maybe there's still that stigma behind it, or we think we have to do it through the music world. Your outlet is music, but we also don't have to drown in the emotions. It's okay to actually seek out help and talk to therapists and talk to people in our community.
Yeah. Like a lot of my favorite artists are dead because of mental health problems. So,
R.I.P. Mac Miller.
Yeah. Yeah, we lost a lot of greats. And it's because of they had some issues that were unresolved. And the stigma behind getting help is like, you need to throw that away, because getting professional help to fix or to heal or like to improve the way you think in your mind, that's actually a strength. So it's kind of like getting a coach, like
Correct.
Personal trainer in the gym is for your muscles. Like in the therapy world, your therapist is muscles for your mind.
Personal trainer for your brain.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Exactly.
Anthony Navarro, any final messages for anybody listening?
I don't know. Maybe
I put you on the spot.
look for the aliens. Don't forget to look up into the sky, because something's out there.
We're not alone, folks.
We are not alone.
It's not how I expected the podcast to end, but we're not alone. You're not alone in the mental health world either. We're not alone. Thanks, dude. I appreciate you doing this with me and allowing us to use the studio. Thank you for being here in your studio. Thank you for being a friend, dude. I appreciate you.
Oh, yeah. Virtual high five.
Virtual high five.
Cool, man.
Right on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was great. Let's do it again.
Let's do it. Part 2 coming soon. Thanks, everybody.
Word.